Good evening. I'd like to welcome everybody to the special Planning and Zoning public hearing for Tuesday, April 5th, 2022. First item on our agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, we have a public notice to read. If our interim secretary Dexter could read it.
Notice is hereby given that there will be a public hearing on Tuesday, April 5th, 2022 at 7 p.m. in the council chambers of the South Windsor Town Hall to consider the following. Number 1, application 22-03P. Kathy Kerrigan requests for a zoning text amendment to add section 1.5, moratorium on new truck and freight terminals and warehouse and distribution centers, to Article 1, to put in place an immediate one-year moratorium for the proposal of any new truck and freight terminal and warehouse and distribution centers, to allow for zoning regulation changes to be put in place to address public concerns. This was continued from March 22nd and revised to include truck and freight terminals. To view this meeting, please tune into channel 16 if your provider is Cox Cable, or go to gmedia.swagat.com/live. Copies of the application are on file in the office of the town clerk and the planning department, and online at southwindsor-ct.gov/planning-department/pages/planning and zoning commission-applications. At this hearing, interested persons may be heard, and written comments by the public will be received by mail and email. Persons who may require an accommodation can contact staff Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30, or by calling 860-644-2511, extension 2329. Bart Passaconis, Chairman, Planning and Zoning.
Thank you very much. At this time, we do have one of our commissioners who has other town business tonight. Commissioner Wagner is absent, so I'm going to seat Commissioner Bernstein for Commissioner Wagner. Okay, if everyone could make sure their cell phones are on mute, we would appreciate it. Our order of business tonight will be to hear from the applicant, then we'll hear from town staff, then we'll hear from members of the public. First, those in favor, and then those against or having questions or concerns, and then we will hear from commissioners. So at this time, does the applicant have anything further? If you could come to the podium. And if anybody from the public would like to speak, there should be a sign sheet up there. If you could print your name and address, would be appreciated, either before or after you speak. Good evening.
Hi. Hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Good evening again. My name is Kathy Kerrigan, 1838 Main Street. I'm reading this into the record. When I addressed this group on March 22nd, I said pretty much what I needed to say, and I won't repeat any of that tonight. I would, however, like to remind the commissioners and everyone here that this moratorium is for a one-year pause in accepting applications for new warehouses and distribution centers. First, let me quickly remind you of the timeline for creating this text amendment and the hours of work that went into it. In December of 2021, I drafted the text amendment. It was my first, I believe it was your second. In January, I submitted it to the P&Z, and it was immediately passed on for review at the state level. March 15th was the scheduled public hearing, and at the Commission's request, I agreed to an extension so that the moratorium hearing could be placed at the top of the March 22nd agenda, and I was grateful for that. On March 22nd, the public hearing was held. I presented my case to the Commission, and when a question was raised regarding the timely filing of the text amendment in the town clerk's office, and the wording of the amendment was changed to include freight terminals, the public hearing was kept open for another 2 weeks. I think I've got that right. Here we are on April 5th, some 4 months later. Yesterday, another application was filed with the Inland Wetlands Commission through Design Professionals of South Windsor for a new Scannell warehouse/distribution center on Kennedy Road and Sullivan Avenue, 241,800 square feet, 19.5 acres. I can only wonder at how many cars and trucks this development will add to Sullivan Avenue. The moratorium on warehouse-type applications, if passed tonight, will go into effect after another 15 days on April 20th, 2022. So make that 5 months total, leaving time for even more applications to come in. And if I sound frustrated, I really am. It shouldn't be this hard. It shouldn't take this much time. I leave you to consider this. Was there a different route that could have been taken? And does the Planning and Zoning Commission have the authority to impose some kind of special exception restriction on, for instance, warehouse-type applications? What can and should the town do to protect the people who choose to call South Windsor home? And what can we do, neighbors, elected officials, town staff, and local businesses, to get this moratorium in place? Because at the end of the day, we're all responsible. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, we'll turn to our town staff, our Director of Planning, Michelle Leip.
Thank you. I really have nothing more to report. Just wanted to let you know that the application wasn't found in the town clerk's office. We did add the language that you have in front of you tonight with the freight terminals. That was advertised twice in the publication, as was read into the record. I do have a copy from the town clerk file that I can submit to the record, but having add freight terminals did cause us to have to re-advertise if we wanted to include that in there. So tonight you are ready to take action on this if that's what you choose to do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I will turn to members of the public. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this text amendment? Please step forward.
Rich DeLay, 95 Cody Circle. I appreciate everything everyone's doing here. I just think the public needs a detailed explanation on why the text wasn't available in the town clerk's office 2 weeks ago. Freight terminals.
If you could speak into the microphone.
Freight terminal.
Ideally, it's 3 to 6 inches from the microphone. It hears it the best. Thank you.
Because, like, we all know freight terminals are already protected as a special exception. So even if that wasn't added, which it didn't necessarily need it to be because it already gave the public the protection we needed, why the text wasn't available in the clerk's office 2 weeks ago that would have given you the ability to vote on this 2 weeks ago. I mean, there might be a legitimate
I can
reason.
answer the reason I was given. How about that? I'll put it on the record.
I would appreciate
Okay, I spoke to the town clerk, and she didn't really have a good answer other than a lot of people file a lot of things back and forth in there. I'm not sure if people are aware, but the town clerk has 2 new staff down there. We have a drawer in the back where all planning and zoning information is filed, which is where people are directed to. I don't know specifically if the attorney talked to one of those 2 ladies there and was directed upstairs or not, but the town clerk, her response was, we don't always know what's filed where, and that is something that she and I have agreed that we need to make sure is very clear so that when the public comes in, they are made aware where it needs to be filed. I can tell you that the minute an application comes in for a zoning text amendment, we have a very specific process in our office. A folder is created, it's brought down to the town clerk's office with a copy of the application and filed in that drawer. That's what's happened with this one. I really can't explain beyond that what happened in the town clerk's office other than to say that rather than jeopardize putting the town in legal jeopardy, it was my opinion that we should hold the hearing open, and in particular wanting to add freight terminals to it. I think the filing of this application on Kennedy Road was coming regardless of the time framing we were going to establish for putting this moratorium in effect. So I don't know if we would have been able to put a moratorium in effect to stop the filing of a Kennedy Road application because the applicant was fully aware of where we were in the process. Again, I apologize that it wasn't a cleaner process than that. All we can do is improve, but that is the explanation I can put on the record. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, That's just not good enough. It should have been available in the public and been able to vote on 2 weeks ago.
It was on our website. Anybody could have gotten on the website from the day it was submitted, out there for 2 months. It's been up in our office. So I don't know what to say other than to say, we're human. Someone didn't do the right thing when it happened, when someone came to town hall. We're going to correct it. And again, I don't think it would have impacted, the moratorium would have impacted the application that's since been filed. And really, that's nothing more
I
I
appreciate
want to say
it.
about that.
I just wanted that on the record, and I appreciate it. Thank you, Michelle.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of this application, text amendment? Please step forward.
Hi, I'm David Raymond. I'm from 1837 Main Street, and I just want to say I support this text amendment. I think it's great. It's the right thing for the town, and it's about time. Thank you all.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of this text amendment? Please step forward. Okay, we have 2 letters in favor to be read. I'll turn to Commissioner Dexter first.
The first letter is from Linda Dalpe, and she lives at 1090 Main Street. I am in support of the moratorium on warehouses in town until more study and planning can be done to improve the quality of living here while retaining its character. Signed, Linda Dalpe.
Okay, Commissioner Viteri.
I have one from Wayne Botha at 720 Governor's Highway. Dear Commissioners, I am Wayne Botha. I live at 720 Governor's Highway. I am writing in support of application 2203P for a moratorium on new warehouse distribution centers. Our planning and zoning regulations have become outdated regarding warehouses, and we need to temporarily pause new applications so that our planning and zoning regulations can be brought current. Other towns in Connecticut have updated regulations to better protect residents, including a 1,500-foot buffer around residential neighborhoods and limiting the height of warehouses. South Windsor is currently an easy target for out-of-state developers who can erect 4-story buildings with only a site plan approval, regardless of health, traffic, or safety impacts to residents. Thank you for volunteering your time to serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission. Sincerely, Wayne Botha.
Okay, and if there's no other speakers in favor, we'll go to speakers who are against or have questions or concerns they'd like to voice. Please step forward. Hearing and seeing none, we have 1 letter to be read into the record. Commissioner Dexter.
This letter is from Brian Faraci. I would like to state my opposition to the latest proposed moratorium that is currently being considered by the Planning and Zoning Commission. I believe that moratoriums are unnecessary and only serve to delay economic development. I also fear that moratoriums will send a message that South Windsor is no longer open for business, thus hurting the town's chances of attracting quality development. South Windsor has adequate zoning regulations which, if followed, allow for reasonable development in town. Some of that development runs close to neighborhoods, and I can certainly understand neighbors' concerns, but that is no reason to stop development in the entire town. One commissioner recently stated that 5 other towns in Connecticut have considered or passed moratoriums on warehouses. I would note that there are 169 towns in Connecticut, 164 of which do not have moratoriums in place. This should indicate that moratoriums are a bad idea, not a good one. In this time of sharply rising property taxes, reasonable development helps the town pay for needed services as well as helping to keep property taxes down. A moratorium will only serve to shift more of that tax burden to homeowners. Please do not pass the moratorium. Thank you. Brian Faraci, South Windsor.
And there's no address?
No address.
Okay. Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to speak against the text amendment or have questions or concerns? Mr. Wenzel.
I only have a question, and that is with regard to the 15-day period. Is that something that's in the zoning regulations or something we do as a courtesy? The amendment was written to take effect immediately, so my question is, this 15-day that's been tossed around, if I understand it right, is not something that you can't simply pass it and make it effective immediately, but that's a question, not a comment of which I know the answer. Just a question.
Okay, and I'll ask the Director of Planning to address that.
We've always been advised to put it 15 days after the publication of your legal notice because that is the appeal period. So we have been advised to put the effective date subsequent to that. We typically advertise on Saturday, so we would be going 15 days from that. The earliest advertising you could do would be, if something got to them by noon tomorrow, it could be advertised for Thursday, so you could move it up 2 days.
Yeah, that was really my question. It seems
Yeah.
like, yes, there's an appeal period, but that doesn't mean you can't make it effective as of even the moment you vote. So that's just a question to consider. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak against the text amendment? Please step forward. Hearing and seeing none, we'll turn to commissioners. Commissioner Bernstein?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple thoughts. With respect to some of the frustration about not being able to file the text amendment so that we could have voted it 2 weeks ago, it just occurs to me that if Ms. Kerrigan didn't come forward with the application, that we probably wouldn't be sitting here in the first place. So kudos to her. I am for this. I plan to vote for it. So I'm very happy that you did come forward, but I just think that is something to keep in mind. Then I guess a question, and this may be something we have to take into executive session, but the applicant did raise the question about some mechanism to move this thing forward quicker, and I know you just addressed the 15-day issue, and I don't know if there is a mechanism that maybe the chair or the director of planning could comment on, but I would think that the public and probably some of the commissioners would be interested in that. And my last comment, and this is kind of part and parcel to it, I have the same feeling on this that I did on the housing moratorium, which is it's critical that we have a process. So I would expect that if we vote on this and if it is approved, that we will set up some sort of meeting where we can get into the process of who, what, where, when, how, and all that, because the clock ticks and 12 months can go by real quick, and I think we owe it to the town to make decisions as quick as possible and as thoughtful as possible. That's really all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Cavagnaro?
Thank you. I have a few comments, and they're just an extension of what I typed up 2 weeks ago. So 2 weeks ago, for anyone that wasn't here, I delivered a report on other municipalities, not only in Connecticut, but across the country, that have done warehouse moratoriums. And coming back now, I wanted to put even more research into it and show what they've done with that time. So a common theme that I've seen with all these municipalities is that they have either created an ad hoc committee or a subcommittee. So my idea here, and these are my ideas written down, I'll just run through them. So either, like I said, an ad hoc committee or a subcommittee to the Planning and Zoning Commission. My idea is to have it made up of 3 P&Z commissioners, 1 town councilor, 1 member from economic development, a member from the planning department, and 3 citizen-appointed positions. Now, this is where I try to put some thought into it, because if you look at the entire makeup of the town, you could live all the way next to the Vernon border, and there are some people that live near the Pleasant Valley district that live right where warehouses are. And so my idea was I wanted to have a bit more representation on this so-called subcommittee if we do go forward with this. So my idea is 2 out of the 3 citizen positions must include members that live within 4,000 feet of an industrial zone in South Windsor. It's important that we do have representation on this subcommittee to hear their voices, because it wouldn't be fair to the citizens if we had 3 positions open for citizens and they came from people that, let's say, lived off of Avery Street, that don't live near warehouses. So that's my thought process for that. Some regulations I saw passed within warehouse moratoriums. I wrote down 4, and we could add to it, of course, but these are just my ideas as well. Increasing the buffer size from 50 feet to either 100 or 150 feet between residential lots and industrial lots. Another one is requiring health risk assessments for facilities that attract over 125 truck trips a day. Another one is requiring traffic impact studies, acoustic sound studies, and air quality health assessments for warehouse applications of a certain square footage. So if a warehouse has a certain size or square footage, it would fall under that category to require those assessments. Last but not least, but to require a sufficient amount or sufficient number of queuing spots to prevent overfill in public roads. Those are 4 ideas that I generated. I saw other towns do. I thought there were some decent ideas to bring forward that we could take notes on. And last but not least, I just have a quick comment to make. With respect to comments made earlier, not every municipality needs a moratorium. Like, let's say if we're Salisbury, where we're 30 minutes away from a highway and the population's very low, we don't really need a warehouse moratorium. With South Windsor, we have a highway running right through, and the examples that I provided, every single one of those municipalities has a highway running through the town that is 5-10 minutes away from an urban center like Hartford, or even the cases I mentioned in California like LA or San Bernardino. You know, not every town will need a warehouse moratorium. And in my honest opinion, our regulations do need work, a lot of work. And so that's why the purpose of all this is trying to point out a lot of stuff that we can do and to analyze what we can do better. So those are all the comments I have. I just wanted to provide all of my insight and the research I've done on this for the benefit of our commission.
Thank you. Commissioner LeBlanc.
Thank you. It's like Alan's done quite a bit of homework here. I'm still gathering information, and South Windsor being unique, that most of the town has been developed. There's not that much open space left for development, and we're going to run into this situation moving ahead, provided that warehouses seem to be quite a popular thing for construction these days, and it's all through the country. For example, I have family in Vero Beach, Florida. Can't compare that to South Windsor, but there's a lot of wide open space down there, and most of the warehousing, I'm using it as a general term here, is on the west end of town along I-95, and it's suitable for that area because there's very little residents out there. However, being in South Windsor, being at a crossroads of I-84, I-291, and Route 91, this is a perfect place to build these. All right, it's no secret. Looking ahead, we do need to have better regulation regarding this as a personal opinion, but I've noticed, I've been on planning and zoning for quite a few years now as an alternate and elected in. We're seeing a lot of these larger developments come in presented by lawyers. What's happening is, seems that the Planning and Zoning Commission does not have the upper hand on this, and I feel that the regulations do not tilt towards our favor. I just retired from the state of Connecticut. I wrote contracts for, I'd say, 15 years out of college, and my role there as an engineer was to keep the state of Connecticut from payouts and holes in contracts for construction. Looking at the regulations, I look at this as somewhat of a contract, and I'm seeing holes in it, and I do feel that a lot of repair needs to be done, and I believe that probably the last update was probably in the 1980s, so it's high time to visit this. As a commission, if we don't have the upper hand, I'm not using that term in a sarcastic way, but I do feel that we should have either veto or approval power, and I'm not seeing it just based on these regulations as they're written, not just in warehousing, but other components in town as well. And that's why I'm in favor of having a moratorium in this. And a year is a long time, but it isn't. It goes by quick. No, we're all volunteers here. We all have lives outside of here, and it's not something we can concentrate on a full-time basis. So having that amount of time gives us the right amount of time to do this right. And I feel that moving ahead, we can get this right, and we should get it right within that time frame, and now's the time to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Foley?
Well, everything Alan and Mike said, I ditto. Their comments are well said, and I agree with them 100%. A couple things that Mike had touched on regarding so many applications that we've received. The next day, it's going to a lawsuit, and we have no teeth to bite into our decisions, and it gets left in the hand of a judge, and that's where we need to, that's the rebuilding process really has to be, to tighten it up so that every applicant that comes in here, they go, don't worry about it. We're just gonna, we're just gonna bring it to suit, and don't worry, we'll get it. We need to stop that, and that's the purpose of this, is so we can review what's inside this book. The other thing, and Michelle, what would be the ramification? Like, if it is not in our regulations that we've given the public, everybody's known, it would advertise prior that this application was forward, and then the first time, 2 weeks ago, now we're here again and it was advertised. Why do we have to give 15 days? What are the legal ramifications if we say, we made a decision tonight, and people have known, the public, everybody who reads the paper, goes on the website, knows that this is here. So let it be done.
Well, excuse me, a legal notice has to be published to make it effective. That's your means of making effective.
We do it tomorrow.
I guess my concern would be, and you can make it effective, Thursday. My concern would be is if you did get a challenge, if someone did challenge it, suppose it overturns your decision, and then warehouse, that's no longer an amendment, and your amendment's not good. Then you've opened the door for other warehouses to continue to come in until you redo the amendment over again. A challenge kind of, if you get a challenge to your decision, that kind of puts your decision in jeopardy. So does that mean someone else could come in with to me, that is the question we have. We always advise people on anybody, if a legal notice being published, wait 15 days to start the work, so in case there's a challenge that takes place. I'm not an attorney. If a challenge takes place, I don't know what, they could go for an injunction and say, no, you can't put that in effect. We want to file our application. You knew it was coming. You're cutting us short of being able to file it. I think that's the jeopardy you run into, not letting it be published and have it, the legal notice run its 15-day appeal period. Again, if you guys want to make an effective date and have us publish it, we will do that.
And I guess the other comment, like when we have our town council meetings, we have legal counsels present. And I'm almost to the point where, do we have our legal counsel at our meetings? I don't know what the cost ramifications are. I don't know what we have them retained for their services, but like right now, we should, it would be nice to be able to ask legal counsel instead of getting ourselves jammed up. But just moving forward, that could be another question to be answered when we sit in the room and say, do we need to have legal counsel every single time we make a decision?
I did review with legal counsel what's in front of you tonight, and the time, the effective date and the publication date, it was something that I discussed with Attorney Olson. And the very reason for putting it out is so that if someone was working on an application, you don't cut them at the knees from filing something. That's the fairness part of putting out after the publication, or they're going to file a suit against you. So again, she was aware of the 15-day appeal period and the dates that we were putting out there. So it was reviewed by her. I would be happy to try to make a phone call and see if I can get her tonight. I'm just basing it on my experience and what
we don't want
previous town attorneys have advised us.
We don't want to jeopardize it, but all right, that's all I have.
Okay, Commissioner Dexter.
Michelle, I'm sorry to put you on the hot seat, but I guess I never realized that a decision like we are going to make tonight is subject to legal action. But it is?
If someone doesn't think you followed the process correctly, sure.
Okay.
Every
Well-
application is subject to an appeal, whether or not it's a valid appeal, the courts decide.
That's all.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Viteri?
Yes, in my past life as an attorney, by the way, she's right, that you could file actions, yeah, it wouldn't be. As far as this goes, when I first got in this position back in November, I was given a copy of the long-range plan and everything, and I've been in South Windsor for 39 years now, and I've seen the way it's grown, I've seen the way it's developed, and so much of it is good, so much of it seems to be needing to be tightened and everything, the way Mike and Alan and folks were speaking about. Inherently, to me, a moratorium, just saying stop everything, in and of itself is, I don't know that that's the best idea in the world, but if it will compel us to go forward and actually do this modification to the strategic plan and the long-range plan and bring it up to date and bring it up to what South Windsor is becoming and will become and continues to become, then I think in that case, then that's fine. I mean, if that's, I know for a lot of, I've seen that for the last year, it looks like it's been discussed. We really should start to look at it, and it's not happened. I know we did the housing moratorium, and that was supposed to give us some time to do it, and now we're doing this, and it should give us time to do it. I'd like to see us 3 months from now reevaluate and say, have we really rolled up our sleeves and done what we have to do? And if so, great, keep going with the 12 months. And if we haven't, then figure there's got to be a better way to do it than just throwing moratoriums on. But beyond that, the only other thing I have is I'm looking at the language of the amendment, and in the last line, it says, no approvals will be given by the Planning and Zoning Commission for new warehouse and distribution centers during this period. Should that also include the truck, the truck terminals, the freight terminals? Okay. So at least I read it. And that'd be it.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Carey?
So, I'm new to this, but I listened to the detailed analysis provided by the members of the public, and I have to tell you, really impressive. Been in the business world for 42 years, and I'm really well prepared on the 322 meeting. I think the warehouses are being put on smaller acreage than the first warehouse. Like, I was watching the numbers, and I was trying to do the math, because I do analytics, and it's kind of interesting to watch, the size of the warehouse get bigger and the acreage get smaller. So I think it's essential that the town have the opportunity to conduct research and implement regulations that protect the public. It just seems as though there isn't a partnership on the warehouses. Like, I've listened to things, it seems like there should always be a partnership, right? If somebody's coming into town, they want to build something, they want to make our town safe and take care of the citizens, and that's not the impression I'm getting. So I think this is a good idea, and I think we should pass it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, just for the record, Michelle, we recently passed a housing moratorium, and we added a caveat regarding any applications received or general plans approved would also be included. So I'm thinking we should have some caveat like that for this language, because there has been an application received.
So the way it works is when an application is received in the office, the zoning regulations that are in effect at the time are the ones that they get reviewed under.
Right.
So up until the effective date of an application being received in the office, they would be going under current regulations.
Right.
If it's not the effective date. It was only received by the Wetlands Agency. It wasn't submitted yet to the Planning and Zoning Agency. But I do anticipate it coming in. I mean, I think if you were to put an effective date of Thursday, it would probably come in tomorrow. I mean, the same plan is prepared for wetlands already. The site plan is prepared, so I don't
Okay.
think it's, I guess my point is, I don't think it's necessary to protect anything because they have up until the effective date to come in with an application.
Right, okay. All right,
And there are no general plans in the industrial zone, so
Right.
we don't have that, so.
right, okay. Other than that, I think the presentation spoke volumes of the necessity of the moratorium. There've been parts of the regulations that I would like to firm up. And it needs to be done, the sooner the better. So at this time, I'll ask the applicant, is there anything else that you want to say or any closing statement?
Just that I really appreciate the thoughtfulness that you all have shown in thinking through this matter and being able to come to the conclusions that you've come to. I'm very impressed with this group, and thank you.
Thank you. I'll ask town staff, is there any reason we should keep the public hearing open?
No.
Okay. Commissioners, any reason to keep the public hearing open? Then we'll close the public hearing at 7:36 PM. And we'll go into our special meeting. First thing is call to order. Michelle, is there public participation for it? It's just what's
Not
on
a
the
special meeting,
agenda?
correct.
Right, okay. So our first item on the agenda is new business, application 22-03P. Kathy Kerrigan, adding section 1.5 moratorium on new truck freight terminals and warehouse and distribution centers. Commissioners, what is your pleasure? Commissioner Bernstein.
So I'm going to wax philosophical a little bit here. I keep coming back when I have the opportunity to be seated and to vote on a decision. I keep coming back to our charge being to do things that are in the best interest of the town. And you sometimes wonder, well, what truly is that? What is in the best interest of the town? And I'm thinking about a year ago March, so just about 1 year ago, we had a referendum in this town. One of the questions on the referendum was, do we buy the bank building at 1645 Ellington Road? And the town voted no on that. And I could sit here and I can make arguments both ways. But compared to that, it seems to me that was pretty vanilla compared to this. The town voted 85% not to do that. Only 15% of the town wanted to do it. And I think if this went to referendum or if there was some kind of vote on it across the town, it would probably be 90–95%. So I really do believe that the best interest of the town is for us to vote yay on this moratorium. Thank you.
Commissioners? Any lights? Commissioner Dexter?
I just want to make mention of someone who got up to the podium, some resident, and talked about, maybe it was you, Kathy, are we really getting jobs from these warehouses? Are we really getting surges of property taxes after the tax abatements are realized? And this commissioner doesn't feel that we are. You convinced me, as well as other articles I've read. I just don't see the value from an economic development perspective, which I know there are those in town who would mention that as the real reason. So I will be voting in favor.
Okay, and I just need to point out to the commissioners, we are debating the merits of the text amendment. When we talk about these things, just like when we're talking about school projects or housing projects, we're not really taking into account student enrollments or that can't be part of our decision, just like economic development per se cannot be part of our decision. When we look at our plan of conservation and development, yes, it does say to try to do economic development to help the town, but it shouldn't really, our decision should not be balanced on whether or not it brings good economic development or substantial economic development. It should be based on the regulations. And this, we're really looking at the text amendment itself, okay? We're not looking to the next step or anything else. We're looking to, is it best that we move forward with this moratorium? So I'll recognize Commissioner LeBlanc.
No, it's great. I just want to echo what you're saying, and that's on my mind as well. I mean, look at us as being a neutral standpoint in town. We're not sitting here to raise money for the town. That's not our role. Personally, I do sit here because I do have a concern of how this town looks. Moving ahead in the future, I've lived here for 43 years now. I've seen it develop from farmland to suburban. I'd like to continue on the path that we have. I think it's an excellent town, and I'm still happy to live here. And the reason I sit here, because I am concerned in the path that we take moving ahead. That's my sole reason of being here. Whether I live on the east side or west side, I live on the east side, by the way. You can't build anything out my way like that, but I am concerned with the town as a whole. But thank you.
Okay, commissioners. A motion would be in order.
Take a motion that we vote on application 22-03P.
Text amendment?
Yep, the text amendment. Am I reading the entire 1.5 section to add? I just want to confirm what I'm reading.
Pardon me?
To make the motion, I just want to confirm what to read, to put on the record for the motion. I just want to confirm.
You're going to read all the proposed
Okay,
language?
just want to confirm. Proposed draft language, Kerrigan Moratorium Amendment, add section 1.5, moratorium on new truck and freight terminals and warehouses and distribution centers to Article 1, introduction/districts. The Planning and Zoning Commission hereby declares an immediate moratorium on all applications for and approval of new truck and freight terminals and warehouse distribution centers throughout the town, so the Commission can pause to fairly assess and revise its regulations in keeping with the goals in the town's plan for conservation and development to address the impacts of new warehouses and distribution centers. Items to be reviewed include, but are not limited to, restrictions on the size of new buildings, acreage and square feet, restrictions on building adjacent properties for development, enhanced buffers for residential areas abutting both commercial and industrial lands, more stringent visual and sound barrier requirements for new developments, a review of and possible upgrade to current traffic and noise standards adopted through state statutes and their application to trucks and trucking companies. Clear definition of warehouses, distribution facilities, and freight terminals, quality, state-of-the-art traffic and noise studies provided by objective third parties, current best practices for noise abatement reduction. The expiration date of this moratorium shall not exceed 12 months from the effective date of adoption unless extended by the Planning and Zoning Commission. No application will be accepted or heard by the Planning and Zoning Commission, and no approvals will be given by the Planning and Zoning Commission for new warehouse and distribution centers during this period.
Okay, and do you also find that the the language meets the plan of conservation and development? Okay, it would be good to state that on, for the record.
So just say the language needs to state the plan of conservation.
Michelle, what's the? That's
So you
in,
find that it's supported by the Plan of Conservation Development. the
Yes,
language.
it's supportive of the plan of the conservation of development.
okay.
Don't we need to amend that last sentence to include truck and freight
Freight
terminals?
terminals.
Friendly amendment?
Friendly amendment, I accept that, and to add freight terminals to the last sentence.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Excuse
We
me, Chair,
have-
you don't have an effective date determined.
Okay.
That's usually part of the motion.
And we'll do that under discussion. Our practice, well, Ellen, since you made the motion, you have the right to speak on it first if you would like to discuss the effective date.
I'll leave the floor open for all the other commissioners to have a date in mind first. I just want to leave it open. I don't want to.
Okay. Commissioners, Commissioner Foley,
I don't want to jeopardize this, so I'm good with, what we're,
the 15 days?
yeah, there's no way we can jeopardize this, so.
Okay. So, 15 days from today,
It would be
correct?
from, the legal notice would be the 24th of April, April 24th, which would be a Sunday.
Okay, so you want to state that for the record, Alan?
So 15 days from today.
No, we will publish on Saturday would be our legal notice publication.
Okay.
It's 15 days from that publication.
Okay, so 15 days from Saturday.
So April 24th,
Correct.
Okay.
okay. Thursday?
I don't know, I heard somewhere where we could do it as early as
Can do
Thursday.
Thursday, and then the effective date would be that Friday, the 20, and we're not here at Town Hall that date, so that's actually good. It's good to have an effective date. We're not here at Town Hall. There's no question of whether it's an effect or not. So we could do it for that Friday, the 22nd. Publish it Thursday.
Okay, so just for the record, which day are we doing it on? I believe you said the 24th, correct?
I didn't say the 24th, no.
If you wanted, the earliest date we can publish it would be this Thursday, and a 15-day appeal period from that would give you till April 22nd, which would be Friday, April 22nd, could be the effective date.
Well, then that's what we do.
Okay,
May I?
so we're in agreement, April 22nd.
April 22nd. That's the earliest we can do, yes.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? We have a second? Who was the second?
I seconded, but I have a discussion point.
Okay, first off, you accept everything that's been the 22nd, all that?
Well, I'm frustrated, yes, I accept it.
No, the seconder.
Yeah.
I have a caveat.
Okay,
Michelle earlier offered to call the town attorney to see if there is any way that we could pull this forward. So I would like to take her up on it if the commission agrees.
okay. How about if we do a 10-minute recess? And we can make that happen? Okay, so we'll recess. We'll be back at 8 PM. Okay, we are back in session. Turn to our Director of Planning, Michelle Lipe.
Yes, I was able to get a hold of Attorney Carrie Olson, and she did verify that we do have to have the 15-day appeal period included in our decision for the effective date. So again, I would recommend April 22nd is probably the earliest effective date with a publication this Thursday.
Okay, and that's a statutory requirement?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. So Commissioners, we have a motion on the floor and it's been seconded. Do we have any more discussion? Questions, comments? If not, I will call the motion. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay. Okay, I believe that concludes our business for the evening. Could we have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Good night, everybody.